WeRiseNation.com.
This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud and clear. If you seek it, you will find what you looking for. And what you hear us, it'll leave you looking for some more. Open the door, let us in, we got a special vibe. Now close the door, lock us in, and enjoy the ride. We about to talk about some things that make a lot of sense. And what we talking about, here sometimes we'll get intense. That's what we looking for, trying to spark a conversation. Join us live or you can listen on the We Rise Nation. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. This where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit. Welcome back to another edition of the Grown Men Podcast. I am your host, BAN, and welcome back to the show. Well, as always, we got a lot of topics to talk about this week. The whole thing is when I go to WeRiseNation.com, I'm getting the feedback from the people. They like what we talking about, and they want us to dive deeper into these topics. And that's what we going to do here on the Grown Man Podcast. But right at the top, I got to say, what are we doing? Is this where we're at? All these things apply to what is going on right now, not only in this country, but across the world. As all these different stories and topics that come up that we can talk about is so many that we have to break them down to very few. And of course, for me, it always starts at the top with Felon 47. Yes, Felon 47 once again is trying to steal an election, as he recently had his little talk, his little fireside talk, so to speak, fireside talk about elections being stolen, which is once again not true. It's been proven, it's been disproven, any other way you want to say it and look at it. Everybody knows that it's bullcrap. And yet still he keeps pushing this agenda. And there's a reason for this, people. It's plain and simple. He wants to steal the 2026 election and sow the seeds for the 2028 election when he can have the choice that he wants. This is what Felon 47 wants to do. As I said previously on the podcast about what he does, the person that yells fire is the one who started it. Think about it. He gets on TV and he touts how China is involved in the election. They're the ones who are doing it. Funny. In 2016, he said the exact opposite. He said that China had nothing to do with interfering in the election in which he won against Hillary Clinton. However, he's planting those seeds again here in 2026, 10 years later. Same playbook. These MAGA morons have to be stupid, or they're gullible, or they just believe it. And I always say they too far gone to be saved. And even the people in the middle, they're too far gone to be saved because they don't believe that fat meat is greasy. And they'll continue to do the same thing over and over. And of course, we hear it from the celebrity wing and everything under the sun about how they admire Felon 47. And a lot of people are saying that, they admire Felon 47. Yes, they admire someone who's accused of sexual assault. That's gratification for some people in some kind of way. But yet you had the man who's going for the top spot in the Justice Department, Todd Blanche, say that he was his personal lawyer during his hearings with the Senate. He's his personal lawyer. Then he tried to walk it back. No, once you say it out of your mouth, It was what you were meant to say in the first place. It's what you wanted to say. Todd Blanche did that. That tells you who he works for. He doesn't work for us, the American people. He works for Felon 47. He clearly said that that's who he worked for. So we know what we're up against right here. And we got people continuing to go down this path and saying, let's try to treat this fairly. There's nothing fair about Felon 47. He does not play by the same rules that the rest of us play by. And that's why a lot of people follow that path, right? And I'm going to get into that a little bit later because I really do want to talk about why people are enamored with Felon 47 for whatever the reason. There's no excuse for it. There's no real reason other than greed. But for Felon 47 to get up there and keep saying these same things over and over and how elections are illegitimate unless he wins or the people that he like wins, then everything's fair, right? Because nobody would vote for what he calls crazy left ideas, right? Like giving people universal health care and giving people dignity and respect and honor. None of those things are in the Republican playbook. They don't care. They're about capitalism. And then they call socialism communism. Because this is what I believe. I believe that every person should get help when they need it. And the other people who don't need it should be out grinding every day doing what they can to support their families. That's what I'm about. It's not about being capitalism. It's not about socialism, communism, none of that garbage. It's about day one, 10 toes down, doing whatever you got to do to help you and your family further move along in life. That is what it's about. And after you're gone, your lineage will be able to carry on what you did and your work. And I think that's what everyone wants. That's the bottom line. However, people on the right and Felon 47 and people of that ilk, they think that people want you to hand them something that's bull and that's garbage. Most people are out every day giving all they got and working hard on a job while these people are vacationing on yachts and flying in Lear jets all over the world. The real grinders are out there getting it every day. And yes, there are some times where people fall a little bit and they need a little help just to get back on their feet. That's what the tax money should be for. That's what it's structured for. However, Felon 47 wants to give tax breaks to people who simply don't need it under the guise that they are somehow these great job creators. We have to wake up and understand that without us, there would be no job for them to do. Their companies wouldn't exist. It's the people on the ground level who build up corporations. So when John Roberts says, oh, corporations are people too. Yeah, you damn right. The people that work in them damn factories that do the work and in these warehouses. That's who it's for. Yeah, those people. Not people who sit up in corporate offices and decide on corporate dividends who's going to get the payout. The people who actually done nothing to earn it. So for Felon 47 to continue to spit this garbage about elections being stolen when hard-working people had to break their damn back, my people in the 60s had to fight for the right to vote. And they want to roll that back? Are you kidding me? So for Felon 47 and anybody of his ilk, I can tell them they can kiss where the sun don't shine, like Larry Holmes said. And since I'm on the Grown Men podcast, that's my big black behind. So that's all I'm going to say about Felon 47. Another thing I want to talk about which slides into him, and that is this so-called support from the celebrity wing, right? The celebrity wing of Magna. And some of them are black Magna, some of them are Latino, Asian, and on down the line. Here's a man that doesn't give a damn about you, only the money that you make. And take this case for example. Boosie Badass, 600 grand, right? He's supposed to get a pardon for all the charges that he had. And then when he didn't get it, he wants to say, I want to talk to them people about that. Once again, that's black people's issue right off the top. Because we think we got enough money to buy our way out of any situation. Wrong answer. Wrong again. Because if they want to enslave you, they don't give a damn how much money you think you have. That's what they told the freedmen back in the days. They said, we're not slaves like the rest of these black people. We're free men. We have these papers. And you know what the white man said? Them papers don't mean a darn, N-word. We will put you on our farm. We will enslave you because you're not a person. You're property. So for Boosie Badass and the rest of these Magdas, these black Magdas, right? They think that nothing can happen to them because they got a few crumbs. That's bull. And he sees that right now as they're not pardoning him. Everybody's lining up for a pardon. And unfortunately, it happened here again as Kells, R. Kelly, looking for a pardon from this administration. And people say, this came up this week. A lot of people were saying that, a lot of black people, they identify with Trump. They can identify with him. Why? Because of our criminality? Because that's what we did in the past and we want to own up to the fact that that's what we did? In our neighborhoods, myself included, we sold dope. When are we going to wake up and realize that that was wrong? And people always go back to the 94 crime bill. I'm tired of people saying that because we went right along with it. You know how we did? Because we didn't do nothing about it. We didn't let our voice be known because all of us, including myself back in 93 and 94, said, what the hell I'm voting for? Why should I push these politicians? I don't want them folks up in my business. Why? Because we was involved in illegal activities, all of us. So we want the pardons for our people like Larry Hoover, and the rest of them. Yeah, sure, we'll line up for those pardons because we were involved in criminality. That's what we were doing in the streets instead of holding up the laws and policies which we had to learn. Because the laws and policies told us strict code, which was G code. And that's take care of your family, which is your organization and your family and your community and your neighborhood. That's what was in those laws and policies. Not this what we doing now. That's why these youngins out here wilding out in the street now. Because we left the streets. And then a lot of us stayed in the streets and still on that right now. When you 40 plus, when you 30 plus, how you gonna still post on a block? How you gonna still claim a land that you don't own in the first damn place? But that's what we do. So that's why we enamored with people like Felon 47, because he's a criminal. So we can identify with criminality. Is that where we want to be in 2026? Is that where we want to be? I damn sure don't want to be there, and I don't want my damn grandchildren to be there either. Because I want bigger and better things for them, as we all should. So while we all sitting on the porch waiting on the white man to pat our head and give us a pardon, we should own up to what we did to our communities, then try to help rebuild and reestablish these communities. That's exactly what we need to be doing. But time after time, we keep on falling for the okie doke. We keep on falling for that soap on the rope, that high dream of getting all our felonies off that we shouldn't have had in the first place. Yeah, we did what we did. But at the end of the day, stop holding on to those old dreams. Let's build something new for our children and our grandchildren and their children moving forward so we don't have to fall back on that. Because they've always said about us, either he sells drugs, he's in the NBA, he's in the NFL, or he won the lottery. That's the only way that they could ever get any money, those people. That's what they say behind our backs. You got to be some kind of entertainer because we're not smart enough to do anything else. Hell, if I thought that way today, think about how we thought back then when we didn't think we were anything because we weren't taught any better. People have to understand, man, it's a lot of pain that all of us have inside. But then we have to focus that pain and that anger and build up to something better and stronger so that our kids can see better. My daughter had it better than I did, which is what I had it better than she did, than my father did. So it's about building blocks and building up legacies of being successful. And it can be done without asking for help from people like Felon 47. We have to do it ourselves. There's enough black dollars floating around that we can build our own communities like we did in the past when they burned them down, like in places like Mississippi and Tulsa, Oklahoma, when they burned down our communities. But this time we won't let that happen. And the only way we do that is to unify in spending our money. And I ain't got to say you're going to be best friends with nobody. No. But if they got a business and somebody else got a business and it's the same thing, you more likely to go to the white business than you do the black business? Give me a break. Because if the black business is offering you the same services as them, I think you should give them a chance until they show you that they're not who they appear to be. That's what I believe that we should be doing all the time. And we wouldn't have to ask anybody for any help. And people won't look down on you just because you had a jail record. They'll say this man is smart because, contrary to popular opinion, to make money on the streets, you have to be smart because you have to know how to count. That's first off. You have to know how to count. Because if you don't know how to count, you don't know how much money you're making. So the guys I knew in the hood, they were smart guys. These were guys that went to school, went to college. They knew how to make that money jump. And people looked up to them due to the fact that they knew how to keep making that money come. They didn't get that money because they was dumb. They got it because they knew how to do what they could do. And now you transition away from that. You got a real legitimate business now. So we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to look like we the baddest person in the world. I would rather be the most smartest person in the world, the most intelligent in the world. Because, see, we have to try harder and we have to be better in order to get the things that we want in life, because they're not giving it away. We got to grind for it as well we should, because nobody's going to give us a handout and we don't expect any handouts. All we want is for people to get off our backs, let us do us, let us live our lives. But we got to get involved on all levels, politically especially. Because for the simple fact, when they make these laws up, a lot of people tend to think it doesn't apply to them because, once again, they got a few crumbs. So those laws and policies mean nothing to them. They look at it like we above that because we got money. We can buy our way out of anything we want to. Not true. They will sick the federal government on you if they feel like they want to. They will come and look you up and get you from your house if they want to do that. Because these are the things that continue to happen right now. And once again, we look at other races and say, it's not us. Or we look at other people that look like us and still say, it's not us. So we don't get involved until it is you. And then you want everyone involved. These are the situations that we will continue to deal with until we learn that we have to stand up for ourselves. We have to present a unified front. We have to present that wall that says we're not going down like that. And the way we do that is politically. You have to make these politicians listen to you. And I don't care what side it is, whether it's Republican or Democrat. It's just so to the fact that Republicans are never going to listen to us, regardless of what we say. The Democratic Party, you got a better chance with them. We would like to see another party, but realistically, that's not going to happen. So you have to play with the rules that are in front of you that present themselves to you. And right now, the Democrats are our shot to do something that can get us out of this situation that we're in. And they have to stand on what they're doing because they're trying to gain office. They want to take the Senate. They want to take Congress back from the Republicans. But they also need to do the things that they're promising to do on the campaign trail regardless. So we need to stand up. We need to step up and do the things that we have to do to ensure that our lineage carries on and prospers and we're highly educated, because that is the true way. Because not all of us are going to be entertainers. Not all of us are going to be athletes. Not all of us are going to win a lottery or win some kind of trumped up lawsuit. We're going to have to stick together and grind if we want it. These are the things that are necessary. These are the tools that we have at our disposal right now. Because black people generate a lot of revenue. Because we spend a lot of revenue. We're always spending. So it's one of those situations where we have to continue to rise up, even when we fall, get back on our feet, and keep on moving forward. It's what we have to do. It's what we need to do. It's what we gotta do if we want our people to continue to thrive and be successful. Next topic and story I want to talk about as it continues being in the news, and that is Nolan Wales. And we know what happened to him, right? We know that he passed away mysteriously because the jury is still out. And a lot of people are saying, well, everybody's jumping to conclusion. I'm not going to jump to any conclusion. I'm just looking at the facts as they're coming in by drips and drabs. And it's going to be a while before we truly know what happened, if we ever find out what happens at all. Because they said they got two sides that are going to work on this, and independent investigations going on with Ben Crump heading that up. And you also have down there in Mississippi, the police are looking at it as well. So they're going to have two sides looking at this thing. They're going to have independent parties looking at this thing and try to figure out exactly what's going on and what happened in this situation. Because these parents need to know, right? It's one of them situations where parents send their kid off, they let their kid go off with their friends, and then they never see them again. It's a tragic situation. I don't like talking about these things because they do make me feel very, very depressed. Because I'm tired of this same thing happening over and over again with black Americans either found hanged or somewhere in a river or lake or anything. And it's been happening for a long time, well before I existed. And it's continuing to happen today on American soil. It didn't happen nowhere else. It happened right here in America, United States of America. And once again, there are a lot of pundits and people talking this week about, people being off in situations where they don't feel comfortable or deals like that. I don't know how well this young man knew these people that he was with. And I don't know if racial situations had anything to do with this. However, it is mighty strange that he was left behind and his friends say, oh, okay, it's cool for him to be left behind somewhere that's far off. It ain't like it was like 5 minutes away. We're talking about 30 minutes somewhere. And they just left him there. He wanted to be alone. Wouldn't somebody in that group say, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea. Because that's what me and my guys would do. We push back. If any one of us said, hey, I'm about to go off by myself, man, I'll see y'all in about an hour or two. No. Because none of us would do that. We would say, hey, bro, where you going? Hey, G, we going with you, man. Or, hey, don't make that move, man. I don't think you should do that. That's the advice that we would have either given or gotten. But this young man didn't get none of that advice. No one thought to say that this is not a good idea. That's the problem that I have with this issue, is that no one said a damn thing. They let him stay there alone. We don't know how well, or good of a swimmer that he was, or if he could swim at all. How will we know any of these things? How does anybody know it? Or he could have got a cramp or anything. That's why you wouldn't leave someone alone. It's just like leaving someone alone on top of a mountain. Or he'll hike down by himself. Of course, that's been done before, as we've seen a lot of stories with that. But it's stupid. And it shouldn't have happened in this situation. It was stupid. And it was reckless for those kids to leave him there by himself. I will say that. Now, murders and all that other stuff, I ain't got nothing to do with that. That's for the facts and the details to come out. But in my opinion, they shouldn't have never left him behind. That was wrong on them. That was stupid of them. And people can say what they want to say. You got the right to your opinion. I got the right to mine. I feel like that was stupid for them to leave him behind like they did. It's one of these situations where we're going to continue to find out more about this story as we move forward, because it is a situation that should be talked about. Because for the simple fact, on the basis of it, it stinks. That's just my opinion. It stinks. There was something that could have happened that didn't happen. And unfortunately, this young man is no longer here to tell us what happened to him. So now we got to try to trace evidence. And of course, this thing is going to carry on. And we'll never get all of the information that we should be getting. I just don't believe it. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we will get everything that we need to know about this case. But it's kind of far-fetched for me to believe that we will. Because everybody is saying it, and I'm not going to get into that. I let all the other pundits talk about cover-ups and things of that nature because I don't like to speak and then got to walk it back. In other words, I don't like to put my foot in my mouth. So I just give my piece on it, what I think about it, my opinion, and then people can take it how it is. You can leave your comments. You want to get into it with me about it. It's up to you. But at the same time, I look at it like this. Something happened that shouldn't have happened in that situation, regardless of what they want to talk about criminal-wise. Something happened in that situation that shouldn't have been. To me, it's negligence, but you can't charge them with that in that kind of situation. But for me, if they left them behind like that, they was at least negligent. I ain't saying they should be charged with murder or nothing like that, but that's negligent as a friend. And I know that's probably not a chargeable offense, but at the same time, it's something for those kids to think about in the future. Don't do that with another one of your friends. This is a lesson learned, a hard lesson if that was really your friend and you had love for him like that. It's a hard lesson that you had to learn, but it need to be learned because it's one of those situations that will continue to happen. And as Black Americans, we got to be careful about who we hang out with. Let's just face facts. Because white Americans are more safe in the company of Black Americans than Black Americans in the company of white Americans. That's right. I said it right here on the Grown Man Podcast because that's how I feel. Years of experience have led me down this path because we've had several white people that used to hang around with us. And they were very friendly with us when it was just a group of us Black Americans. And they felt very comfortable with us. They never felt out of place. However, when the script is flipped, it's always that different thing because they're walking on eggshells about what they should say, what they can say, and what they can't say. See, we never had to do that. We never had to play like we somebody different in front of our white friends. No, we still acted the same way we act. Because see, contrary to popular opinion amongst white people, all Black Americans don't walk around to each other talking and saying N-word this and N-word that. And we had a friend of ours that she went there with that, right? Like she thought that she was cool enough to get away with that. And me and Steele was like, yo, wait a minute. We don't do that. Because we don't do it amongst each other. I don't walk around and say, hey, N-word, this, N-word this. No, I say, what up, bro? What's up, G? That's the way I talk. I don't come out of my pocket to say nothing that's unnecessary. Now, of course, some of my other guys, they let people out of their races, out of the race of being Black, say it, and they on the cool with it. But when it came to me and Steele and the We Rise clique, no, we didn't get down like that. Y'all can say it to them, not to me and not in my presence, because I'm going to check you about it. And I'm going to say it's disrespectful. Then after that, if you continue to say it, then I'm going to join in with you. And then I'm going to start using slurs that you don't like. See, I go tit for tat. And I go round for round. That's just what I do. I can play the dozens with anybody. I love it. And I can do it all day long. And I have no problem about it. We did it all day long. That's what Steele, Jay, and myself was known for. People got tired of us because we keep going all day. And of course, our late man, Big Ben will roast you from night to day when you come on that block. If you got a sweater on that look funny. Because that's just what we did. So I don't let people disrespect me. You understand? I'm comfortable in my own skin where I don't have to act a certain way to try to prove that I'm intelligent or I'm superior in any kind of way of other Black people. No, we're all the same. We're all cut from the same. We're all smart. We're all intelligent people. It's whether we choose to use our intelligence and our brilliance. Those are the things that the obstacles that get in our way at times is that we simply don't use them. Because I remember as a young kid coming up, I wasn't around many white Americans because it was black Americans in my neighborhood, and that's basically what I saw. I remember going to a Sox game with my old man back in 82 or 81, sometime in that era. And we were at Comiskey Park, the old Comiskey Park, and the fireworks was going up. And my old man asked me, he said, "Hey, you scared?" I said, "No, I'm not scared." He thought that I was scared to be around white Americans, and it wasn't that fact. I just don't like to be around groups of people, period. And I'm still that way right now. Some 50 years later, I still don't like to be around a group of people. That's just not me. It's not my bag. But I'm not afraid to be around anyone in my own skin. I'm a black man, and I'm damn proud of being a black man. I'm damn proud of being a black American. The whole point is that when people get lost in this race of people, that's what happens to us all. Because we get lost in this thing and we have to treat people differently or talk differently about people. So we have to make our jokes to try to talk down on people. When people talk about chicken and watermelon and all the other things that they talk about that's associated with black Americans, instead of talking to black Americans and asking them. As I said before here on the Grown Man Podcast, I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat chicken. Never hate watermelon, hated that since I was a baby. One of the first things my mother gave me, like 2 and 3 years old, was watermelon, and I spit it out. And I never liked it since then. To this day, I still hate watermelon. So that's not something that you can label black people, but I don't want to get into that whole thing. But the aspect about it is that, look, I saw a lot of stuff coming up in my youth when I was younger that groomed me and molded me to the person that I am today. Because as a kid, I was very timid. And I didn't like pushback. I didn't like to fight back. None of those things applied to me. I had the heart of my mother. And I tell you, God rest her soul, she was the best person in the world. And my mother would do for anybody and had the kindest heart. Even when she didn't have it, she did it. That's what type of person she was. And I inherited some of that. Also inherited my old man. And my old man could be selfish to the point. And that sometimes you have to balance that out because I understood where he was coming from. Because once you start giving people things, they'll expect it and they'll take and take and take. But to get back to the conversation about black Americans, white Americans, Asian, Latino, and everybody else under the sun mixing together, we're all in this big melting pot, right? I like to learn about all different cultures, so I like to talk to all different kind of people. I have no problem with that. But I don't feel I have to act another kind of way. So take, for instance, if I'm speaking to someone who may be Mexican or Puerto Rican or Venezuelan or any race of that nature, why should I start talking with a Spanish slang? It's no reason for me to do that. I can talk my regular way that I'm talking right now. If I encounter somebody who's a white American and they speak in a higher tone, do I have to start speaking that way as well? No. Because then you start separating yourself. Be who you are in the first place. That's what all of us need to learn, especially us as black Americans. Be yourself. That's good enough to get you by. So in these situations, in these instances, we have to learn to live within the skin that we were born in and move forward from there. That's what I tend to do. That's the way I tend to live my life. So it's one of those situations where black and white and, all those things under the sun don't make a difference at the end of the day. Because at the very core, we're all human beings and we should be caring about humanity. Mark and I have discussed that in length here on the Grown Man Podcast about having humanity, because that's the first thing. Before you get to all these races and different things that you want to break down, have humanity and compassion for your fellow man. That's the things that we need to be doing right now in this country. Another thing I want to talk about, of course, it came out this week. Hegseth is trying to test men for testosterone, now in the military. This is what's going on. They're talking about testosterone. Who got the stones to want to go to war? Anybody would fight in a war to defend a country that they can be proud of. But why in the hell would I defend this country right now? I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of anything that we're doing right now in this country. I'm not proud of the wars we're going through. I'm not proud of ICE killing innocent people in the streets for no reason. And that idiot gets on TV, Bagman Holman, says it's going to be more bloodshed if the Democrats don't get in line. In other words, you idiot and you moron, your department, along with Mark Wayne Mullen, you're going to be murderers based on the fact that you can't get along with somebody politically. And why? Because this is what Felon 47 wants to see. This is what's going on right now in this country. We're in a war right now with Iran, where Felon 47 doesn't even call it a war, and the people in his cabinet are too damn scared to tell him to his face, sir, this is a war. They're too afraid to do that, so they all fall in line and they blame the left. No, blame yourself. Because when you look in the mirror, you got to look yourself in the face as a man or woman. And you got to look at that smirk and that smile that's on your face that's not real and it's not authentic. Because you really hate Felon 47 guts. But politically, you're riding his coattail. You're riding his MAGA base to hopefully get yourself in a position where you can be president of the United States. Because that's what it's all about, bottom line. You know, Lindsey Graham got out of here and people tried to say good things about him on both sides of the aisle. Bull. Lindsey Graham was what Lindsey Graham was. He died, and that's the end of it. Mitch McConnell, don't know if he's still alive or not, don't care. Get him out of the way. Because he's stopping the agenda of moving this country forward, not moving it backwards. This is not 1800s. We're not going back. We're going forward regardless of what you try to do or say, by force, if we have to, or by whatever means. Like Malcolm X said, you're not pushing us back. We're only pushing forward. We're going to get better, faster, and stronger. And we're already smarter and we're brilliant. And they hate that. That was the reason why they hid the damn books, because they didn't want us to get knowledge of self. But we know it. We have it. And we have achieved, and we're going to continue to achieve. I want to see more black billionaires. Exactly, I want to see them. That's why I was glad to see the black billionaires stepping up. I was glad to see Tyler Perry stepping up. I was glad to see my man Byron Allen stepping up. Because we need to see more of that. More black love, more black billionaires with black dollars. I love it. That's why I spend money that way with black people. Because I don't mind people being billionaires if I'm not. If I can help them get there, more power to it. If you're doing the right thing. But if you're stepping on the backs of other black Americans, I'm never going to buy anything from you. When I find out what your agenda is about, not only will I not spend money with you, I'm going to talk down on you right here on the Grown Men Podcast as soon as I find that information out. Because we need to bond and stick together in order to make this thing pop like we want it to. Not cowering down and backing down. And yet we continue to do these things all the time, every day. Because we have our own agenda. And we have our own thing that we're trying to get established. That's fine and dandy. But at the same time, you got to reach that hand out. You got to reach out and talk to the people and tell them about your agendas and your ideas and what's going to go on. These are the things that we need to do all the time. We need to embrace it. We have to. Because right now in this country, we have to defend our people against sabotage. And they want to take us down and take us out by any means necessary. So we need to step our game up. These are the things that we need to do in order for us to move forward and be successful. Another topic I wanted to talk about came up this week right here in the city of Chicago. And that is, of course, the mayoral race is starting to heat up for next year. And there are candidates that are lining up as the reports came out that it's not looking good for Brandon Johnson. He may not pull that, 14%. They're saying that he's polling 5th and 6th. Now, this is early, so we don't know exactly what's going on with that. I'm not going to take it and run with it. However, I do know that there are people in this city who don't particularly care for Brandon Johnson. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I was a man who supported him. I didn't vote for him in the beginning in the primary, but when it was him against Vallis, I had to go with him. And people are gonna say, "Yeah, you went with him because he's a black man." So what? I mean, people didn't win against people that was a white man. Nobody ever complains about that. If a black man goes against a white man in other counties, they're gonna vote for the white man because he's more like him. But that's not the point why I voted for Brandon Johnson. I voted for Brandon Johnson because I thought he was a better candidate to get the job done here. Now, there are a lot of situations that came up that's on him, and he has to deal with it and live with it because he haven't even said whether he's going to run again. He hasn't even came out and said that. He says he's focusing on fixing, some of the issues that we have right now, and he's not focused on that. Now, it's up to him to look at his future, sit down, like he said. He's going to talk with his wife. He's going to talk with his family and decide what's the best step for him to do moving forward. And it's one of those situations where a lot of the things, like I said before, is not his fault. You inherited these things. Of course, nobody ever wants to talk about that. They're talking about that once again, that 75-year deal that Daley got us into with the parking, which was a terrible idea. Brandon Johnson tried to buy it back, didn't work. That was one of the situations where the money was not there. And of course, people are going to lay that at his door about the Bears leaving and going wherever they're going, which nobody gives a damn about except people who are diehard football fans. I like the Bears, but I don't like them enough to continue to pay these high damn tax prices that we pay for the property that we live in. I don't love them that much. So they can fly and go away. But back to Brandon Johnson and his situation, it's one of those deals where, look, sometimes what you're doing is not working and you need a new voice. However, the people that I've seen lining up as candidates, they don't look that good to me either. And to be honest with you, if they lined them up and said vote today and they counted Brandon Johnson out of that mix for the ones who are left, I don't think I would vote at all. And I'm just being honest because I haven't seen enough from these other people to know that they know what they're talking about. I'm just not going to vote for you just because I have to vote for somebody. I might not vote at all. I've done that before. When I look at ballots and I don't know what your agenda is and I don't know what you're about, or you have some things on you that's questionable, and the other candidate I definitely ain't going to vote for, I don't vote at all. I'll overlook that spot on the ballot. And this may be one of them deals where I overlook that spot on the ballot. Because if it's not someone who has a serious agenda, then I'm not voting for it. And we know that crime and things of that nature happen, and I can get into this whole detail, which I'm going to, and that is why this is what it is. So a lot of people said that, the mayors have been soft on crime. They started out with Lightfoot, and then they're saying with Brandon Johnson. And of course, when Kim Foxx was the state's attorney, they were saying the same thing about her. And I knew what all of them were trying to do because they were trying to right wrongs from the 1980s and the 1990s, the late 80s and into the 1990s. That's what they were trying to do when us as black men were sent away to the penitentiary for long periods of time for things that we didn't do or minor offenses. Because when we were coming up in the 90s, if they caught you with weed, they was trying to throw you in the county for like 6 months for that, just for a sack of wheat. This is what they were trying to do. So all of them who grew up in that era, the Kim Foxes and myself and even Lori Lightfoot, who was a little older, but they grew up in an era where they saw the mistreatment of black Americans from police. So they tried to give us a break. And it was a good thought and it came from the heart. The problem is that era, the generation that I came up with, has changed. And it has gotten progressively worse. Now, here's how I break it down. I see these young kids all the time, right? They're like 13, 14 years old, some of them 12 and 11. And there are adults and elders around, and they're cussing like sailors. When we were coming up, no matter what we did in those streets, we never disrespected elders. We never called an elder out. We never talked dirty to them, and we damn sure didn't punch them. However, these kids today, they're doing different things. They're doing too much. And now you have to rescind a little bit of that freedom that was given to them, that pass that was given to them for some of the things that they do. And sometimes it has to be that way. And it's going to hurt a little bit because a lot of people are going to get profiled again. But the next person that you get in here as mayor is going to be tough on crime. They're going to be really tough. And unfortunately, as always, the black and brown are going to suffer the brunt of that. Because we are the ones that are going to be targeted, as the federal government is doing. They are blatantly targeting. And the Supreme Court said they got a right to target people who speak a certain way, look a certain way, or act a certain way. So now that the Supreme Court has said that this is okay, the states and the cities can now say that this is okay. Unfortunately, this is what it's going to come to, because the behavior that's going on right now can't continue. Now, a lot of that started right when they started tearing down the projects. And I can tell you this for a fact. When they tore down those projects, they pushed a lot of people into neighborhoods that they weren't from and where they know nothing about. And they started coming in and grouping up with other people that they knew. And then they start going to these blocks, block after block, causing havoc and destruction. And the people that were living here in these areas in which I live right now, they say, hey, we see them writing on the wall. They start selling their houses. Same thing that happened in the 70s when white Americans in the city of Chicago saw that black Americans would start to come on economically. They got out of the city and moved to the suburbs. Suburbs had lower taxes, lower prices on goods, all of those things. They said, oh, let them have the city. They're the ones that are going to pay their high taxes, and that's where we're at. Right now, we pay high property tax to live where we live, and yet there are always violent crimes happening. Now, crimes don't happen all the time like everybody say that they are, like you will hear on Fox News. Let Fox News tell that Chicago is a hotbed of crime. No, there are isolated incidents that happen. What happened is when you get groups of people together, they become targets for other people. And now young people, they have no respect for blocks or neighborhoods. How could they? Once again, I harken back to what I said earlier about street organizations when they were legitimate. Not offsets, legitimate. We're not talking about things that are on the third and fourth branch of what it was when I came up. No, we're talking about back then when people kept their neighborhoods clean. They didn't put no trash on the ground because they didn't want the heat for the illegal activities that they were involved in. It's simple, right? If you wanted to do illicit business, you want it to look as legitimate as possible. But if people come in your neighborhood and they see broken glass and broken windows and trash laying around, they're going to say, yes, this is the hotbed of crime, because obviously the people in this neighborhood or on this block don't give a damn. So let's set up shop. That's what we used to do back in the day. We went to the blocks where people didn't look like they gave a damn. And then you set up shop and do anything you wanted to do under the sun because we knew that no one cared. That is what unfortunately has happened right now times 3, because people are doing any and everything under the sun. As they found a young woman in a trash can, dead. How could you discard a woman like that? How could you do anyone like that? Let alone a woman. But someone did this. And this happened right in our neighborhoods, right in our areas, the place we came up with. It's inexcusable for these things to happen. That's why the new voice may be needed. And Brandon Johnson, unfortunately, is going to suffer the wrath from these type of acts. Because people got mad at him for this issue. They got mad at him for something that wasn't his fault as well. And that is people from other countries, from Venezuela or wherever they came from, being in the city of Chicago. Because Chicago is not a border city. That idiot, Governor Abbott, down there in Texas, sent those people here with a political agenda attached to it. Because you mean to tell me that all down there in Texas, all those Texas National Guards and all those people couldn't stop people from coming over from the border? That's bull. It was a political agenda. But I'm going to get off of that and jump back on to the topic, which is a new voice. And that is what this city may need. But as I said before, you're going to have to earn my vote. I'm not voting for just anybody. And I know some of these candidates before, but I'm not going to vote for them. Because I vote on people that have helped people in the past, and there is proof that they have done these things. Because you see, you've had people that actually did things in this state and in this city to help other people. And one of the people that helped me out personally was Lisa Madigan. She went to bat for me. She decided not to run for office, but I wish she would have, because she's not like her father. I never seen her any stories about her taking kickbacks. I thought that she would have been a good governor. She could have been a good mayor of the city of Chicago if she wanted to be, because she's someone who helped me in a situation personally. So I know that personally that she is out to help the people. And sometimes when you have a connection with someone, when they help you out in a situation, you feel like you can trust that person to do the right thing with a city or a state. It just wasn't a path that she chose, but she did some good things. I liked that Rod Blagojevich until he started talking crazy and supporting Felon 47. I like the things that he did in the state of Illinois. I like the fact that the elderly were allowed to ride on public transportation for free. I like the fact that he got rid of smoking in public buildings. I like those things that he did. But then he got greedy, crossed the line trying to sell President Obama's seat. And, then he started talking down on President Obama. Him and his wife started talking down on President Obama like they threw him under the bus. That's what I didn't like. I like some of the things that Rod Blagojevich did, and I met him personally, shook his hand. I was on lunch at work one day, and I talked to him, and he sat down and talked to us for a while. And I thought he was a good guy until he got locked up, and then he went bowing down and trying to kiss the butt of Felon 47. Once you do that, I lose all respect for you. Anybody that associates themselves with him, I lose all respect and I cut off all ties. I could never support anything that you do because I no longer have any respect for you. Because when you do that, you show people that only thing you care about is your freedom at that point. Not the fact that you actually committed these crimes. This is the thing about committing crimes. If you did the crime, go and do the time. And then come out a better person and say, you know what, I did that. But I'm better from it. I'm better for it. I mean, how many chances did Marion Barry get in Washington, D.C.? So you deserve a chance if you did something wrong. Look, I was wrong. Own up to it. I did it. Now I'm ready to move forward and be a better person. And if it's in public office helping people, because a lot of these guys that got locked up had good ideas. They just fell into that trap. The money was too alluring. The job was too alluring. You had too much power. And it got the best of you. It happens to us. Open money can tempt the most honest man. I've said that before here on the Grown Men Podcast. But it's one of those situations where right now in the city of Chicago, Brandon Johnson is not looking that good. It's not looking like he's going to survive. And maybe he shouldn't. Maybe it's a new voice that needs to come in here. But as I said, I have to see what these people are about, whoever they are, the final candidates that are going to be lined up, what they are about. And then I will decide if I will cast my vote for either of them or none of them. But it's going to be interesting next 6 months or so to see where this thing leads. We'll continue to monitor it and talk about it right here on the Grown Men Podcast. Last thing I want to talk about, haven't talked about it a while, and that is my Chicago White Sox. My first place Chicago White Sox. That's right, in the month of July, right now, our Chicago White Sox sit atop of the AL Central, and we had 3 All-Stars as Miguel Vargas went, Mune Murakami went, and Tristan Peters. All 3 of those guys deserve it because at first I was kind of mad when I saw that the Kansas City Royals, who were in last place, had 2 all-star representatives and the Sox only had 1. So they did rectify that situation. I'm glad that they did. And it's good to see the team moving forward. Of course, the draft came up. Number 1 pick, Rock Chalowski. He's going to be up with the team next year. Don't know where he's going to play because you got a lot of positions that are filled. As Colson Montgomery's at third. He's playing third and shortstop. Vargas is playing third and first base. So there's going to be room for him. I look at it like this. I think that Andrew Benintendi, his contract's going to be up. I think he's the odd man out. And I think what's going to happen is they're probably going to rotate these guys in these positions, meaning that they'll be rotating. We know that Mydroff is going to be the second baseman. However, I think everybody else is going to move around that diamond and get the team moving forward. Because right now they're doing good, just need to get the pitching. That's the last thing. And people are talking about what they should get at the trade deadline. And I was saying to someone the other day, I said, don't get nothing at the trade deadline. Don't do anything at all. Call up your guys from the minors. You got some good pitchers down there. You sink and swim with those guys because you're not projected to win a world championship this year. And it's probably not going to happen because you got teams like the Dodgers that are simply too good. And I just don't think that in a 7-game series, you're going to be able to beat them. Toronto got as close as you can get last year to knocking them off, and they still didn't do it. And Toronto played the best baseball that they could possibly play, and they still couldn't knock them off. So to see the Chicago White Sox doing what they're doing right now is a great thing. I'm glad to see it. And moving forward, we hope that this thing continues to build next year and the year after, where you're building a legitimate every year contender, because that's what we want. We don't want one and offs. Both teams are playing good in the city of Chicago. The White Sox and the Cubs both got shot to be in the postseason. That doesn't happen often, which is a shame, because in my eyes, I think it should happen every year. But it's good to see that both teams are doing well at the same time. Of course, this was the first time this year that 2 players on both sides of town had a cycle in the same season. You had Pete Crow Armstrong for the Cubs. He did it earlier, and then Tristan Peters did it. So it's looking good in Chicago as far as baseball goes and football goes. Now, if we can get the Blackhawks and the Bulls there, then we'll have it all lined up the way we want it. Of course, the Bulls right now finishing up Summer League, big-time stars that they drafted, doing pretty well right now. You know, we're not expecting them to be a playoff team, but we are expecting them to play better and be exciting, as they have an exciting group of players now. They're building a core. They're building a foundation. They got a new head coach. They got a new team president. Everything is looking good right now for the Bulls. So they're going to move up that ladder as well. Blackhawks are aiming to get there with Connor Bedard still around. So they're looking to advance in their draft and the picks that they get and hopefully move up, because Chicago deserves it, because we are a great sports town. Hell, we are a great city when we choose to be. There are a lot of great things here for us to do, a lot of entertainment that people from all over this country love coming here. We have so many events and festivals and different things. And now we got the Obama Presidential Center. People want to come here to go there. They want to see it, and they want to actually visualize it. So it's great to see things happening right now in the city of Chicago, and we look forward to many great things happening in the future. Well, folks, it appears my time is up. As always, I'm glad you tuned in to us. You could have listened to any podcast in the world, but we glad you chose the Grown Man Podcast. Head on over to WeRiseNation.com. Hit up all the links. Check out the music. Check out the blogs. Check out some of our short videos where Mark and myself were talking about different topics. We're going to be talking about more in the future. And we encourage people to drop us comments, drop us lines at WeRiseNation.com. Also, head over to our YouTube page as well as our Instagram page, as we upload clips there as well from the hot topics that we talked about during the podcast. Well, until next week, folks, I am your host, BAN, and we will talk to you soon. where the grown men stay so you can kill that noise. We be the best to do it, coming out of Illinois. So sit back and relax, close your mouth and listen. We bout to hit you with this knowledge that you've been missing. Listen closely to the Grown Men Podcast. We Rise Nation is the station with the gift of gab. We dropping knowledge on these topics that you wanna hear. We on point with it, get the picture loud.